Hey everyone, it's Vestic, and I just completed my playthrough of World of Final Fantasy Maxima. I wanted to get some thoughts out there before I forgot about them. Just a quick overview of what I liked, what I didn't like. Let's get to it. World of Final Fantasy is basically Square Enix's take on Pokemon. You go around, you catch mirages. Most of them are very recognizable from all of the other Final Fantasy games in the franchise. You train them up, you teach them abilities, you make them stronger, and then you go and fight. The thing that sets Maxima apart, or just World of Final Fantasy in general, apart from Pokemon itself, is the battle system. You have a stack that you can build. So you'll have a large monster, a medium monster, and a small monster that you can stack on top of each other, and they will be a combined attack unit. You can unstack those monsters as well, so you can have up to 6 members in your battle party, or if both parties are stacked, you can have 2 members of your battle party. The benefit to having an unstacked party is that you get more attacks, but your stacked party is much stronger, and near the end game, it is almost always better to have a stacked party, or else some of the bosses will just one-shot your entire team. But playing through this game, it's very lighthearted. There's a ton of funny humor and just humor altogether. So if that's not your cup of tea, then this game might not be for you because it is all over the place. The main characters are Lon and Rain, and as you can see in the little video down below in the intro, they have amnesia at the beginning of the game and they get woken up by the god of this world and a crow. And your journey is to go and collect mirages while learning more and more about their past. And most of the levels are pretty small. You don't stick in too many places all at once, so you get to move pretty quickly through the story. And I don't remember grinding too much to get past any bosses. One thing that did get me throughout the playthrough, I think there are 2 instances where you have scripted deaths, or 3. No, 3 instances where you have like scripted losses. They're not deaths, but if you use a lot of items like I did, those fights are pretty frustrating at times. Most of the scripted deaths I played through in other video games, you get in the fight, you have a turn, and then you're just one shot. This one, if you're strong enough, you can go through quite a few rounds before you lose the fight, and then it kicks you to the continued cutscene. So that was frustrating. I'm not sure what the optimized way to do that is in games, but I prefer going into a battle being like, oh crap, I can't fight this guy, dying, and then cutscene. So a little nitpick there for me. Near the end of the game, there are things called interventions, which are story required side quests, is probably the best way to put them. And they become super important for parts of the playthrough. And at the end of the game, you have 7 of these that you just have to do one after another if you want to progress the story, and they're not really spaced out with a whole lot of good job, you've done 1 out of 7. Here's a little bit of story. You just have to do them and hope that you've listened to the NPC chatter and hope that you got them all right in order to continue the story. There's not really a whole lot of direction pointing you to where you need to go at that point at the end game, which is pretty frustrating, and it took me, I think, 3 extra hours of gameplay to just figure it out. I didn't look up any guides or anything, so if you're a guide person and you have a guide to walk you through, that won't be a problem. But if you like figuring things out by yourself like I do, then listen very carefully, or else you will miss just a little bit of text that will tell you what to do. The final bosses are good. You have a couple with Maxima DLC. I think you have 3 endings. The first ending is an ending. The second ending is a better ending. And I didn't play through all of Maxima. We'll get to that in a second. And there is a secret ending at the end of Maxima after you've done a handful of things. But the main story playthrough took me about 35 hours to get through. And that was without me doing a guide. I had played this game before, quite a few years ago, and I didn't remember enough to make the playthrough any quicker than what I did the first time. So 35 hours is probably what you'd expect to get through this game for the main story. And after the main story is done, you get to access the DLC Maxima content, which are more interventions, some super bosses, a little bit of extra story, some more champion summons, and some Coliseum battles. I played through about an hour and a half of the Maxima story, and it just felt like an extra end game DLC. There's not a whole lot of story that you can get to right away. The extra mirages that you can get require a ton of grinding, which isn't too bad because in Maxima they give you a higher level area to level up in. So you get more experience, you get other items that will give you more experience faster. But if there's no story, it's kind of hard to keep me engaged in the game. So I didn't get too far into it, and I dropped the game after a couple hours in Maxima. So overall, this game is pretty much what you'd expect for a spin-off game. It doesn't take itself too seriously. There are serious moments in it. The storytelling is okay. And if you're expecting a Final Fantasy experience, one that blows you out of your shoes or something, this isn't it. This is just a lighthearted adventure that allows you to experiment with building stacks in a Pokemon-like universe. But overall, I would rate this game 7.5 out of 10. It was pretty good. You get to listen to music from all sorts of Final Fantasy games. You get to meet characters from all the Final Fantasy games, and all the monsters are very familiar, and you can actually use them in your teams, which is a really cool spin-off from just beating them up and killing them in the Final Fantasy games. So overall, I had a good time. This was the first game that I played during my Final Fantasy marathon stuff. I'm just going to go through all the games. I figured this would give me a good base to be familiar with a bunch of the characters in the other games. And I just jumped into the Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster, and the music is there. World of Final Fantasy did a really good mix-up of the Final Fantasy 1 town music, battle music, everything. And so it helped me jump in and not feel like everything was brand new. And it's been a really good foundational game, I guess, to get into the rest of the franchise, for me at least. It's been years since I played the other games, and this one just helped me remember things that I probably wouldn't have remembered otherwise. So 7.5 out of 10 might have a little bit of nostalgia in there for me, but I mean it's a solid game, and it gives you a bunch of hours for your money. And since it's been out for so long, it's not the full $60 price tag. So you can find this game for $40 normally, or if it's on sale, it will be even cheaper. But that is my thoughts on World of Final Fantasy Maxima. Sorry, my mouth is trying to go faster than my brain. But overall, solid game if you're in for just a game that's a time waster, a kind of new experience, but not really. This might be a game to pick up and try. But thank you guys for listening, and I'll be back with the rest of my playthroughs, and when I'm done with the Pixel Remaster for 1, I'll have a thoughts video on that too. Have a good one, everyone, and take care.